Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another interesting edition of JD's Wildcat World. Probably sound a little bit different today. I'm traveling from a doctor's appointment in Nashville, but you know, I haven't really had time to break down the whole Cal and UK dynamic since everything has happened, since the Cats got eliminated in the first round of the tournament, since everything has transpired since then. So I'm currently trying to get this episode recorded with a Beats headphones mic into the mic here. So probably doesn't sound the greatest, but I felt like that driving I can usually talk and talk, and plus it helps me stay awake. So thought this would be a good time to get the episode in, and I also want to hear your all's thoughts. There's no secret that this last week has been hectic on all fronts in the athletics department at UK. So I also want to know what you all think about it as well. So let's just start off with the most disappointing thing out of all this. The Cats lose against Oakland in the first round of the NCAA tournament. The 14 seeded Golden Grizzlies uh, beat the Cats 80-76 in Pittsburgh. Just a, like I said, disappointing. Just a complete embarrassment, if we're being honest. Oakland as a team, now looking back on it, that got pretty much handled by NC State. Uh, you know, Jack Gulkey was a guy that I said here last week before previewing the game. He's a guy that is going to throw up crazy stuff and hit it, and you got to be ready for that. And I don't really, I mean, I don't understand how we let one guy beat us, but we did, especially with as much talent as we had. Uh, you know, there was no scenario in which I saw this team going home in round one. I thought it would have to be an all systems failure for us to get beat in the second round after seeing our draw. The draw was the most favorable draw that I can remember Kentucky ever getting, definitely in recent memory. So just a complete disappointment on all fronts. You know, Tommy Townsend played good as well for Oakland. That was another guy that I mentioned. He was the Horizon League Player of the Year. But the main story, of course, if you've watched any of the NCAA tournament, has been Jack Gulkey. He goes off, hits 10 threes. You know, I thought in the first half, he just came out firing on all cylinders, did exactly what he wanted to do whenever he wanted to do it. And I thought, there's probably going to be an adjustment here. I feel like we can shut him down in the second half. And at that point, he was the only guy beating Kentucky. And he single handedly did in the second half as well. No adjustments. No, I mean, we put Antonio Reeves on him, which I think should have been done early in the first half. I don't know how the coaching staff didn't know that. It seemed like Reeves did the best on him, but Reeves made some mistakes on him as well. Fell for a shot fake one time and let him have a wide open three, and he, of course, nailed it. But at the end of that game, you still have a chance. Rob Dillingham hits a big three, and you're down one with about 40 seconds left. You come down the floor, and we're going to make Oakland take a tough layup, which I definitely would have preferred them taking. We had size on them inside as well. They were going to have to take a tough two, and I think probably would have missed a tough two. But instead, Rob reaches on the guy that's driving down the lane, leaves his man wide open in the corner. How many times have we seen that this year out of this team? Just undisciplined on the defensive end, and DQ Cole for Oakland buries three, and that's a ball game, folks. From that point on, they kept a 4-point lead, ended up winning by 4. So it's just a microcosm of the season. To be honest with you, there were some big wins this year. But the truth of the matter is, with the talent that we had, listen, this was one of my favorite teams of the Cal era, to be honest with you, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They couldn't guard anybody for most of the year, but offensively, it's so much talent. I never saw a scenario where we would get bounced in round one, especially when I saw the draw and we got a 3 seed. You know, all other 3 seeds took care of business. Uh, all other 2 seeds took care of business. There's several ones and twos still left in the Sweet 16. So it's just even more frustrating, to be honest with you. You know, and you know, I don't have to go into every waking detail about that Oakland game because it's not something I quite frankly want to live again. It was miserable to watch. Um, it just, you know, we would have stole that game if we'd have came back and won it because Oakland came out. They actually had a game plan. Notice I say they actually had one. You know, it's been rumor flying that we didn't, and obviously, I mean, I don't think it's much of a rumor, folks. If you watch that game, you can tell, especially on the defensive side, I don't think there was a game plan. I don't think they game planned to beat the zone on offense. You know, Cal acted shocked about not being able to uh, break the zone defense that Oakland plays. I mean, y'all had a week to prepare, so I'm not sure what is the deal there. Just a total, like I said, total all systems failure. This NCAA tournament run was for Kentucky. Actually, March in general. You know, they laid an egg against Texas A&M, and we heard all year long, Coach Cal. You know, this team's built for March. We're built for March. When we lose at home against Tennessee, when we lose 3 straight home games, we're built for March. We're built for March. Well, I, I, obviously that wasn't true. Um, you can't. Something has to matter in this scenario. You know, you can't say, it's regular season, it don't matter, and then lose, and then also lose in the SEC tournament in the first game, also lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament. At some point, something has to matter. And I think that's something that we've got away from as a program, to be honest with you. Um, we've won one SEC tournament game in 4 years, one NCAA tournament game in 4 years, and it was against a Providence team that was arguably checked out. Ed Cooley's last game at Providence, um, game that we definitely should have won, and we did last year. But the point is, this hasn't been Kentucky basketball the last 4 years. It just has not been. And you all, everybody that listens to this show and that knows me in general, knows that I am 100% a Cal guy. I take flack all the time for being a Cal guy. You know, that's one of the biggest issues people have had with me uh, that listen. And trust me, I know. I get messages all the time telling me how big of a Cal supporter I am. You know, I don't consider that a bad thing, to be honest with you. Uh, but I will say, I told several people, and I think I might have even said this on the podcast last episode. I did say if Cal goes home in the first weekend, I think it's time to separate. I think it's time for a mutual separation. And the Cats go home in the first weekend, but as you know by now, the mutual separation did not happen. Coach Calipari is going to return for at least one more season to be the coach of Kentucky. Him and Mitch Barnhart had a face-to-face meeting yesterday, and he will return. But before we get into the returning part of this, I want to take a second to say, um, you know, I'll take you through this timeline here. And this is all of what I've heard from reliable people that I trust. Um, I'm not going to pretend that I have sources that I don't, um, but I will say I am around people that know a decent amount about this program and have mutual friends who are insiders for Kentucky. So all this information I feel like is true. I wouldn't say any of this stuff if I didn't believe it. Um, so I wouldn't put myself out there on a platform just to get blasted if it wasn't correct. So there's my little caveat before this. But I want to walk you through. I think it went Thursday. You saw how it went. This is Thursday of last week. Um, and then Friday morning, I think Mitch Barnhart realized on Friday that he wanted Cal to come back, to be honest with you. I think that decision was made on Friday of last week. But then I think he was underestimating how many people wanted Cal gone. As far as boosters, as far as donors to the school, uh, as far as the fan base, I don't think the fan base had a huge had a huge effect on that. But I think donors especially are really frustrated. We're ready for a change. So from Saturday on, Mitch had to make the decision. Um, I was told on Friday night that the money for the buyout was in place, um, and that the buyout was not an issue. Um, some of that had to do with the fact that all of it does not have to be paid up front. They could have paid it in installments, but even if they did have to pay it up front, I was told that money was there on Friday night. So that wasn't the issue. It all came down to Mitch Barnhart deciding what he wanted to do and what direction he wanted to move in. So from Saturday to what is today, Thursday. So Saturday to Wednesday, he took the time thinking it through, and I think that because of the donor pressure, because of the fan base pressure, because of the pressure from everywhere, I think it was close. To be honest, I don't think it was for sure a guarantee that Coach Calipari was going to be back next year for Kentucky. I got messages, when I shared that Cal was indeed back yesterday. I got messages like, "Oh, he was never going anywhere." I don't agree with that, folks. I'll just tell you, based on things I've seen, messages I've received, I think it was very close to potentially him being gone. But I will say, I think the number one thing as to why he came back was, I mean, you heard it last night in the BBN Tonight interview. One was Mitch Barnhart wants him and Cal to go out on their high horses. He doesn't want to. He didn't want Cal to go out on the downside, and he doesn't want to go out on the downside. Listen, he probably only has 2 to 5 more years until he retires. So um, it was just all in all decision for him. But I think we'll see what happens. But number two, I don't think there was a home run high replacement. That could basically be 1A and 1B. I think both were equally important. But you mentioned names, you saw names floating around. Jay Wright seemed to be the guy that people were focused in on, and that would have been a good hire. I would have been good with Jay Wright, but it's not the home run type hire that you want to replace Cal with, in my opinion. I know the last 4 years have been unacceptable, inexcusable. I know that, but I don't think Jay Wright or Scott Drew is the ideal replacement. I really don't. And you all can say, and I've heard for years now, Brad Stevens this, Brad Stevens that. I was told, and also have heard that the exact words were, "I've got Jason Tatum, no thanks." And that's basically what I've said from the time that Brad Stevens took the Boston Celtics job until now. Why would he leave there? He is set up in a great position. The Celtics are arguably the best team in the NBA. He's potentially going to win an NBA Finals. as a front office guy for the first time this year, it just doesn't make sense for him to leave and want to get back into this, especially at Kentucky. Um, so I think 1A and 1B is the legacy of both, and them not being there not being a home run hire out there. I think both equally important. Now, as far as Cal being retained and the meeting between him and Mitch said last night on BBN tonight that the information going around that there are requirements that certain things change, blah blah blah. He said that's between him and Cal, that you know not to trust the validity of a lot of things going around. So I'm not going to speculate on anything, but I will say the things that I know. And the thing, like I said, none of this is speculation. This is stuff that I have heard that I am confident that is true before I put it out there. I'm not a guy to just run my mouth when I don't see any validity to them. Um, Number one, I think something that is changing. I think the most important change is coaching staff changes. Um, there are two assistants that have, I've seen personally the last couple years, and I can tell on TV, seeing the guys in person, it's just like, what do these guys do? Um, you know, one of uh, the guys that I have mutual friends with that I've heard this information out of wants one of these guys has wanted him gone from the first day he stepped on campus. And there's rumors flying about this guy, and I'm told not all are rumors. I've heard it's pretty true that one of these two assistants like to hang out at Jeff Ruby's lot and drink. And he would rather be drinking at Jeff Ruby's than scouting, was the exact quote that I've received. And I'm not going to throw names out. You all will know when it comes out. But I will say one is Cal's buddy that basically just got hired, in my opinion, because he was Cal's friend. I think he's been here for too long, to be honest with you. And one is a guy that I liked the hire when it first happened a couple years back. I thought he would do good things in recruiting and defensively, but this guy was the defensive coach this year, and you all saw the defense. And if you can't be bothered to scout and put together a defensive game plan, I feel like you are stealing money from the university and from everybody. So I definitely expect two staff changes as far as assistant coaches, and then also behind the scenes people that run the basketball operations, I expect to be gone. I don't even know if they'll announce that or not. I don't know how that'll work. But for a while now, basketball, well, actually, I mean, basically since Cal's got here, the basketball program itself has operated on an island and all by itself, done its own thing. And I feel like Mitch in the athletic department accepted that when Kentucky was winning. That hasn't happened in the last 4 years. I think, that's another thing that I think has changed. I think, they're all going to start operating under the same roof as football, women's basketball, baseball, etc. I don't think that Cal will have the freedom anymore to operate his own thing. Um, I think NIL has a lot to do with it as well. I think that, NIL changes have to be made. If you all saw the article on KSR come out, that was not a good look at all for the university or Calipari about NIL deal for Antonio Reeves. Uh, that is unacceptable on many fronts. I won't go into detail, but you all can go read that about a deal that Reeves and his family had no idea existed. Just very low, if that was true. So I expect the NIL to be different, how they get in contact with players, paying players. I expect that not to go through Cal and his people anymore. I expect that to go through the university and university's people that they have appointed for that stuff. Um, Roster management. I don't really know if Mitch, uh, you know, it seemed like in the interview last night it was about getting tougher, not necessarily older. But I love everyone and I love Cal. But I mean, we tried to get older with Severe Wheeler, Oscar Sheboy, Kellen Grady, all those guys, and we still didn't win. So, I mean, you can play the freshman excuse, I guess, if you want to, but it's not valid to me, to be honest with you. We've had chances with the older guys and we've crapped out. So I don't really buy the "we're young" excuse. I really don't. I know you gotta have. I mean, I do buy the physicality excuse though. They did talk about getting tougher. We've got to get some guys inside that are physical. You know, we had no. I mean, the Oakland coaches said it, the players said it, and our players acted like they got mad and we're going to feed off of it, and they didn't. We didn't have an inside presence for much of the year. Trey played really good against Oakland. It was good to see him bounce back from his injury. But as far as our 7 footers inside and on offense, I mean, it's true. I mean, Ugo would block shots every once in a while. Zeke could block shots. Bradshaw could block shots. But we need a big physical guy similar to Oscar, but that can do other things as well. Do we find that in the portal? We'll see. I think we need one of those. I think we need a senior led guard. To be honest with you, that in the portal, I don't know if that name is in the portal yet or not, but we need to be looking at other options as well. As far as guys coming back, um, I think the only returners you get out of this year's team is Adu Thiero. Um, I don't. People seem to think Jordan Burks will be back, but I could easily see him transferring. Um, we'll see, but you know, I could go ahead and put Burks on that list, I guess. Adu, Jordan Burks. It seems like Cal's trying to get DJ Wagner to come back for a second year. I would be in full support of that. I'm a big DJ Wagner fan. I think he needs another year. He struggled at the end of the year after his ankle injury. I would love to see DJ back. So I'm going to Thiero, Jordan Burks, DJ Wagner. I think Z is gone, but there's a there is a possibility of him coming back. Uh, but the other guys, I think, are 100% gone. I think. Well, I say that besides Reed. Reed is a unique situation. I've said all year long he's gone, he's gone, he's gone. Um, then the first round of the NCAA tournament happened. Then the stuff with Cal happened. Uh, I don't know where to put the percentage chance on Reed. Matt Jones said at the end of his episode on KSR one of the days this week, I saw on Twitter that a guy close to him said Reed is 80% chance back, but Matt still doesn't believe he will be back. That's the kind of boat I'm in. I can't see a guy that is projected as high as him coming back, but he loves Kentucky. He loves the state. He loves the team. He loves Cal. Um, and Cal, that would be a huge piece to this season that Cal needs to have next year. Reed coming back would totally flip the dynamic of the fan base. I feel like I don't think 100%, but I think a good 75% of the fans would hop back on board if Reed were to come back. Uh, so that's something we'll have to see. I think it's a complicated decision on many fronts for Reed and his family. And I mean, but like I said, if he were to come back, I think that really helps the fan base get back on board. I think Edwards will be gone. I think Z ends up leaving. I think Rob Dillingham is 110% gone already. Trying to think of who else is left. Bradshaw, I think he'll probably declare and put his name in the transfer portal, depending on the feedback he gets back. This is all just guessing, but I, something that isn't a guess. Ugo, I've heard that he has been in the transfer portal low key since middle of the year. So I expect to see him be gone, and then we'll go from there. You add Billy Richmond, Jaden Quaintance, those guys, Travis Perry. You add these new freshmen, combine them with a couple returning players and a couple portal pieces. Let's see where we go. I'm not confident. I feel like that this year was the year that this all was supposed to happen. I feel like this year was Cal's year. He had his guys back. He stoked us up. People around the programs have soaked the fans up for this past year to be the year, and we are at home in the first weekend, in the first round of both postseason tournaments. So I'm not necessarily confident, but at the same time, I'm a Kentucky fan through and through. It didn't matter who was at the helm in November of next year, or I guess it'll be of this year, but next season, I'm going to support the Wildcats 110%. So if you got an issue with that, and I know people will, because I've told people I thought that the best solution was a separation, and I still think that that was the best solution. I still think that in the end, next year, best case scenario, you cut down the nets, but worst case, you're in the same exact situation you're in this year. You have a mid regular season, lose 9 games or 8 or 9 games, and then you go into March with the weight of the world on these kids' backs, and it's not fair to the kids at all. But I don't see any other scenario other than that happening. And what happens then? Does that next year's team take the pressure better than this one? I don't know, but you're sure putting a lot of pressure on 19-year-old kids, for sure. And I heard someone say today that this whole saga proved to them that Calipari will never be fired at Kentucky, and that shocked me. But then again, it didn't shock me. I think this little week here is the first time that in reality that it has been ushered that Cal could leave. Like in reality, have conversations with people inside the program that Cal could actually be gone. Next year, the buyout goes from $33 million to $27 million. But once again, I don't think the buyout is the issue. That's a lot of money to pay, especially when you just hired a head coach for women's basketball. And by the way, my headphones just died, so I'm sorry you're going to hear background noise, but we got to get through this because I'm feeling good right now recording. But if it's unlistenable, you can go ahead and turn it off. But I especially the buyout that isn't the issue, but a lot of money spent. They just made the new women's basketball coach the top 10 highest paid in the country. Then you would have to pay Cal's buyout. Then you would have to pay the potential replacements buyout at their school, and then you'd have to pay them. So, just a crap ton of money that would have to be spent to fire a guy and then hire a guy. And I don't think, especially after making the women's basketball hire, that Mitch was in the position that he wanted to do that. But, back to next year, I don't see a positive ending. I want to be wrong. I want to eat crow. I will eat crow 100% because, and I will say, let's give these kids a chance. It's not their fault that this situation that they're in, that is not their fault at all. So let's support this team next year. Let's support Cal. You all are ultimately going to do what you want to, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to support Kentucky. I'm going to support Cal and hope that he gets this thing turned around because it needs to be turned around there. I'm saying all this and saying at the same time there's no excuse for the way it has been the last 4 years. We cannot handle another year of it, and I'm telling you right now, if they were to have another same year as they did this year, and then they turn around and keep him next year, this fan base is mad now, but you talk about furious. And I don't think that'll happen. I think that if he has a year like he had this year,
you're looking at having to go out and get a replacement. With that being said, I thought that was this season. I thought that, I figured he would be gone, to be honest with you. But the situation, I get why he's coming back, and I understand it. And I hope that he has a successful year and we're able to get back to a Final Four. And, hey, let's just win SEC tournament game or two as well while we're at it, please. I definitely understand you all being upset that Cal is still a coach. But with that being said, I feel like I'm a fan regardless. So I'm going to cheer my own way, and I know you all are too. But, I want to end this episode by saying I still think that a separation right now would have been the best answer. I think Cal, I love Cal. I've grew up watching Cal have these great teams for the last 15 years. And that's probably why I support him so much, because I grew up watching his teams, watching him coach. But I will say I think it's ran its course. And I'm one of the biggest Cal guys there is. I don't want to crap on the guy. I never would do that. I would never do that to this program because I do respect him. I respect what he's done. But I think that it's just ran its course. I think they're beating a dead horse, to be honest with you. And like I said, I would love to eat crow next season, but I think, with all this being said, like I said, I'm going to support this team 110%, without a doubt. I'm a fan at heart. I'm still going to travel to support the team, just like I did this year. Just like I do every season. But I think that, I get the way decisions were made because of the circumstances. And if you're not going to get a home run higher, you could argue that Cal is the best we could do. I could argue that, and I see that point as well. But I just wanted to record this episode, let you all know where I stand, let you know where things stand with the program. I expect to start hearing player decisions within the next day or so, and we'll see if mine are correct. I've got confidence in a couple of them, actually several of them. I've got confidence that I'll be right. The biggest question mark obviously is going to be Reed. I don't think anybody knows with that situation. So we'll see what happens there. I would love to have him back. It would be huge. Like I said, I think that would get a lot of the fan base back into this thing. So thank you all for listening. I know a lot of you all have messaged me asking me for my thoughts. I wanted to take time for all this stuff to happen. I feel like all the speculation was exactly what I said, speculation. I wanted to have the facts out before I recorded. Of course, I had my information that I shared with you all, but as far as him saying or going, I wanted that to be set in stone before I recorded. And it just happened to be on a day that I have a doctor's appointment out of town, so I'm sorry for the sound quality if it's bad, but I wanted to get it recorded and done, and I had a lot on my mind about the situation. So thank you all, as always, for listening. Sorry I've got the sniffles. I'm still not feeling the best as well, but thank you all for listening. This has been JD's Wildcat World. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, also available on YouTube. Thank you all so much for listening. This has been, I picked this year to start a podcast about Kentucky basketball because I thought this was the year that we were going to do big things. I thought this was the team that was going to bring us back. That didn't happen. But I still want to thank this year's team for all the memories, all the good memories, the beatdown of Tennessee in their home building, the beatdown of Miami at home, all the good memories, the road win at Mississippi State. Good times. I really do love this team, and I'm going to miss them. I know they got on people's nerves, especially on defense, but, man, I loved watching them play, especially on the offensive end. And so I'm definitely going to miss those guys. I'm very sad I don't get to see Rob Dillingham hit a buzzer beater in March or have his March run like he should. but I know he's going to go be a star in the NBA. So thank you all for listening. Like I said, as always, I just wanted to say thank you to this year's team for doing all they could, and for the fun memories of being a Kentucky fan. So thank you all for listening. Let me know what you think of the episode. Let me know what you think about the decision to keep Coach Calipari. And I'll have some off-season episodes, as players' decisions happen, as news drops about the team. If we get a big portal addition or two, I will go ahead and record those as well. So y'all let me know what you think. And until next time, this has been JD's Wildcat World. And as always, go Cats.